Early September in Cerro Chaltèn, late winter, and I'm out today in a brief lull in the storm, trying to hike some gear up high into the mountains, ideally to the base of the Supercanaleta if I can make it there. But it's kind of hard work. Deep trail breaking in the gullies and powder covered boulders and talus on the ridges, so it's kind of slow going. We'll see how it goes. Slogging along up towards Paso del Cuadrado, carrying a pretty dense pack. Now I'm up to Paso del Cuadrado. Started down at the road at 1 p.m. because this morning it was too stormy, and slogged up here. Maybe you can see my track down there. And the weather's been improving throughout the day. Not that it's exactly perfect. The mountains are more white than I would have liked, but maybe it'll all work out. As predicted, there's a late evening lull in the storm, and it's still chilly and windy, but it's pretty beautiful. I made it to the base of the Supercan with all my climbing gear, and I've got a decent portion of my camping gear at Piedra Negra, so that's a good head start on things. More importantly, unlike 3 years ago when I came down here in winter with the same goal, the couloir is not totally dry. So that is a big relief to see. I got here just at last light, just barely in time to be able to see the route, enjoying this brief lull in the storm before it's supposed to get really nasty again tomorrow morning. Obviously, there is a lot to go since all I've done is carried half my gear to the base. But, I don't know, seems like things are going all right at the moment. Well, this time I'm finally out hiking into the mountains, hoping to actually go climbing. It just dumped a ton of snow the last few days. This is the trail up above Piedra del Fraile, and so not ideal for conditions, and there's some concern about the wind maybe picking up when I want to be climbing, but it's exciting anyways to be hiking in, planning to try. You can just barely see some pretty frosty mountains up there. Well, I'm still slogging up towards Piedra Negra, hopefully on my way to making an actual attempt on the Supercanaleta. Trucking along, taking my time so that I start the climb feeling fresh, not tired. Still slogging up towards Piedra Negra. Theoretically, I could try climbing tomorrow, which looks like the better weather day. But with all the trail breaking to get there, I think I would probably be kind of tired starting up the route, and that's not so ideal. So I think probably I'm better off trying to climb on Thursday, even though it looks a little bit windier. It's nearly 6 p.m. and I just recently got a weather update from Rollo via the InReach, and it sounds like tomorrow is definitely the better weather day than today. However, I have a long ways to go still to the base, and it's all very slow and tiring because of so much fresh snow. So unfortunately, I think making an attempt tomorrow is not realistic. And I'll probably just have to hope that Thursday turns out less windy than forecast, and if I get lucky, I can make a decent attempt on Thursday. It's 6:30 p.m. right now, and the base of the Supercanaleta is quite a ways away. Well, it was kind of a long, tiring evening yesterday. My tent is down there, not sure if it's visible. I didn't get there until 8:30, didn't get inside the tent till 9:30, and so I was definitely way too late and way too fatigued to make an attempt on the Supercan today. And unfortunately, tomorrow sounds like it might be too windy, but if this evening's forecast update doesn't sound worse, I think I'll give a shot anyways. And even if I don't make it that far, I feel like I would feel good about making an attempt at least partway up the route. So, we'll see. The weather update does not sound very promising, and the conditions outside seem to be aligning with what the forecast is saying. It's definitely getting quite a bit windier and cloudier than it was. So I think Rollo's right, and that tomorrow is not the moment. Looks pretty up there at the moment, but the wind definitely has been picking up in general. And based on that, and mostly on the forecasts that Rollo sent me, I decided to hike out. I'm not leaving my bivvy here until 7 p.m., so it'll be kind of a long night. Tra-la-la-la-la. This feels silly. Well, hiking back in again today on September 11. Hoping that this is the time that I'll actually make an attempt on the Supercan. Working my way up and nearly to Piedra Negra. Still fairly windy, but the conditions on the mountains and the snow conditions seem quite a bit better than when I hiked in last time. So that's a good sign. There's still some gusty bits of wind, but it's slowly clearing up, which is good. Maybe I spoke a little bit too soon. Made it to the base of the route. Woohoo! It's 8:20. I think I'm about 2/3 of the way up the lower couloir. The neve ended kind of low, and there's been a fair amount of hard, brittle ice, but I guess that shouldn't be too surprising since it is winter, and ice tends to get hard and brittle when it's cold. I'm definitely not speeding along, but I'm trucking along, and I feel like I'm not using too much energy. Hard work with this backpack. I have definitely a lot more weight than I would if I were up here by myself in summer. I've got 2 ropes, a decent amount of rack, a whole bunch of warm clothing, a bunch of food, 3 liters of water, and it makes this quite tiring. I am at the Bloque Empotrado, and I just took a break here, eating, drinking, taking a little rest. Getting up to here took way more time and especially way more energy than anticipated, mostly because there was only neve in the lowest bit of the couloir, And then it was just hard ice for a long, long ways with lots of swinging and front pointing. And I'm about to finally start the real climbing, but it's already 11:15, which is definitely behind schedule. But at least for now, the weather is good. I've been swinging quite hard because the ice is cold and hard, but in places it's also thin. And coming up this part down here, I bent my pick the worst I ever have. I brought the Pure Ice picks, which are in general awesome, especially for this hard ice, but that's a pretty serious bend. I've done a bunch of the ice climbing on the route, so I guess I'll see if I can bend it back and continue, but that is quite unfortunate. Well, that has been some slow progress. This part right below me here is not usually considered a crux of the Supercanaleta, but it's kind of slabby and insecure, so I did a back loop and hauled my pack, and it took quite a while. It's like 140, and I'm not even to where you branch out right. I guess for now, I can keep going because I still have plenty of time before it's supposed to get stormy. It's 2:30. I finally left the gut of the couloir, and coming up this little step right here, I really welded one of my tools in order to do it comfortably, and then couldn't get it out from the awkward stance I was in. So I had to go up with one axe, make an anchor up there, wrap back down to get my tool. Quite a faff. It is now 2:30, and the route reaches the ridge to the right of that kind of reddish tower thing there. So somewhere right up here, there's supposed to be a short little rappel, but it's still quite a ways even to reach the ridge. And then I have a long ways along the ridge, which is fairly rhymed. I definitely am at least thinking about bailing, which kind of sucks because I don't know if I would have it in me to come back up here and repeat soloing everything I just did in the near future. But I don't know. I'll have a snack and ponder. It's totally possible that my drive for hard soloing isn't what it used to be. Something I've already said before. And it's not like that would be a bad thing. Climbing with partners is more fun and more safe. Just hard to find good partners a lot of the time. Well, time to do some thinking. Well, I've been hemming and hawing for a good little while, and I think I'm gonna bail. It's just about 3 p.m. and the amount of terrain above me is still quite a lot, especially since it's a lot of the trickiest terrain and a lot of the most rhymed up. And yeah, in addition, I'm kind of just physically and mentally fried a bit as well. Conditions for soloing have definitely not been easy. And on top of all that, I kind of think I don't have the same risk tolerance that I used to, or maybe more than used to have had at certain moments in the past. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I have definitely sworn off hard soloing before, so I won't be surprised if, the lesson takes me longer to learn again. I kind of think this super intense, stressful stuff isn't for me anymore. So, I'm gonna wrap off even just bailing from here is definitely going to be a very long journey. It's, I don't know, something like 4,000 feet of rappelling from here to the Schrund. Being up here all alone, high on Fitzroy in winter, it's pretty intense. And it makes me really miss Achan, who I love very much. So, bye-bye for now. Time to wrap off slowly and carefully so that I get to hang out with Achan again. A minute ago, rock came down, so I'm kind of chilling for a moment in a relatively sheltered spot before wrapping down into the gut of the gully where there's nowhere to hide whatsoever, just to make sure that there aren't more rocks coming down. Well, shooting one more video clip as I'm about to start hiking out. The rest of the descent got a little bit, I don't know, long and intense as Patagonia descents tend to do. I think the hike out's gonna be kind of epic because it's actually pretty stormy. This is the most mellow moment that I've had in quite a while. Well, ta-ta. I am very glad that I failed when I did. Well, it is September 17, and I am hiking back in towards Piedra del Fraile. Unfortunately, when I hiked out last time, not only was I pretty physically and psychologically fried, but I was hiking out in a really nasty storm. So I carried out all of my gear because I thought it was unlikely I would go back in for another try. But now there's a pretty beautiful weather window, which is awesome. But the problem is I'm hiking back in with this very, very heavy pack. You know, always the big problem with solo climbing, or the biggest problem, is that there's no one to share any weight with. So I've got 2 ropes, rack, boots, crampons, axes, helmet, harness, tent, sleeping pad, stove, fuel, sleeping bag, water bottles, and food for 4.5 days, plus all the like clothing for winter camping in like minus 20°C conditions. So it's very freaking heavy, even though I've pared down my climbing gear a bit since the last try. Because of that, I'm planning to do the approach over 2 days rather than 1. And I'm just planning to go to Piedra Negra today. But nonetheless, it feels like a lot of work, and hopefully carrying in this really heavy pack won't result in being too tired to perform well on the climb itself. My plan of action right now is to take frequent breaks and just eat my pack lighter. So that's what I'm trying to do. A friend of mine suggested, why don't you just hire a porter to go up to Piedra Negra or even the base of the route? And that definitely would make things massively easier, and it would definitely increase my chance of success on the route because I could get there faster, I could get there a lot less tired. I might change my mind on this at some point in the future, but for now, I felt that seemed kind of like it would be a little bit too lame. On one hand, I consider myself a climber, not a backpacker, and what I'm doing now is more like backpacking. On the other hand, I think that part of what makes these peaks difficult, and especially part of what makes it difficult to climb them in winter and by oneself, is the difficulty of access and, hiking a long ways, having no tracks in the snow, carrying all the weight required for winter survival by yourself. And, the climb itself, of course, doing it in winter is harder, doing it by yourself is harder, but if you hired porters to get to the base, and then you had a really nice, comfortable camp at the base and whatnot. At that point, it becomes not that different from doing a winter solo in the Alps, which is still cool, but is very different from a winter solo here in Patagonia, at least if you're doing all the work yourself here. I think that if I hired a porter to get to the base, I would feel like I hadn't truly succeeded in doing a winter solo of Fitzroy. So, for now, just suffering under very heavy pack. One bit of good news is that the mountains themselves, despite all the fresh snow on the ground and on the glaciers, look, I think, the cleanest I've seen them this trip. A lot less rime up there. So that at least is quite encouraging, despite the fact that I'm getting pretty tired hauling this stuff around. Slowly getting settled in here at Piedra Negra. It was quite a lot of work getting up here. I hope that my legs won't feel too tired or sore tomorrow as a result. But the weather is absolutely gorgeous at the moment. I do think it'll be quite cold tonight, but other than that, cannot complain about weather like this. Getting packed up after a night here at Piedra Negra. It was quite cold last night. The weather is beautiful though, and it's supposed to be less cold tonight according to the last forecast I saw, which would be really great. I hope that's true, because not only does it make for better sleep, but assuming I'm starting up the route tomorrow morning, having it be warmer than it is right now would definitely be a good thing. Gorgeous weather, and very little rime on Fitz this time, which is awesome. I definitely am hoping, although it's probably not realistic, that the forecast will turn out to be good for the 20th, because then I could take a rest day tomorrow and start up the climb feeling fresh. But probably that won't be the case, so I for sure will be somewhat tired tomorrow, but hopefully not too much. Little Serac avalanche coming off of Loma Blanca. Well, it's 1 p.m. on September 18. Just made it to essentially the base of the route. I think that maybe I see a lot more basalt dike than I did last time. I really hope that it's not down to bare rock for a bunch of the lower couloir now, because that would almost for sure put a stop to my solo ascent. I'm definitely gonna make my attempt tomorrow. Unfortunately, I do think that my legs will be somewhat tired, but maybe not as bad as I'm fearing. And the forecast tomorrow definitely looks better than the day after, so it seems like the wisest choice overall. Only a couple hundred meters up the couloir, and it's taken me 25 minutes to get here, and I'm already taking my first break. Unfortunately, quite a bit of trail breaking in the lower couloir this time. I hope that it doesn't just go directly from hard trail breaking to hard ice. It would be nice if the trail breaking soon ends and it's replaced by a nice neve. That's my dream. Definitely intense again, being up here alone, but I feel maybe a little bit more comfortable since I was up here not that long ago. Yeah, prioritizing safety over sending, one pitch at a time, and we'll see how it goes. It is 2:15. I'm at the spot where I bailed on my previous attempt. I'm gonna keep going this time. Conditions are definitely better than last time. I still feel very intimidated, but I feel more confident. I did leave my second rope a couple pitches below where I am now, so I'm planning to descend the upper part just with either 30-meter reps or the escaper, which also sounds pretty serious and intimidating, but it definitely makes it a lot easier to climb with the weight of just one. I finally made it up onto the ridge. It is 3:45 and I have a long ways to go on a lot of technical climbing. So I'm definitely still feeling stressed and everything, but I feel like that is at least an important milestone, making it up here onto the ridge. I was making quite good time on the ridge for a little ways, and then it started getting a lot more rhymed up and definitely slowing down up here. It's 5:30 and I still have several tricky pitches. It'll be dark at 8, so to say that I'm kind of stressed is definitely putting it lightly. An activity to be done with extreme care is daisy soloing. And even so, it's still pretty sketchy. Nearly 7 p.m. I am making slow progress up here. Whew, it's gonna be an intense night, there's no doubt about that. This is looking up at the last hard pitch. Summit of Fitz is up there. 7:20. There's a good chance it'll get dark while I'm climbing this. Not really sure which tactics I should use. Having my last food and water at the moment. Intense. 9:20 p.m. I am on the summit of Fitz, alone, in winter, at night. Feels pretty fucked up. I don't know if I ever want to do something this hardcore again. And I am extremely anxious about the descent for a whole number of reasons. So, enough video. Well, if it wasn't already obvious, I made it down off the mountain. It was a very long feeling descent, but all went pretty smoothly. And I got down here at like 5 a.m. and made myself a little bit of food and water, passed out for a little while. And I'm definitely going to take my time lounging around before I do any hiking out, because I am pretty wasted, physically, mentally, psychologically. Looking up at Fitz right now, it's got its Smoking Mountain cloud cap, and I'm glad that I decided to climb on the 19th, not today. I'm glad I climbed yesterday and am not high on Fitzroy right now. Taking in this winter wonderland vista once more, and then slogging down, which in my opinion is always worse than slogging up.